This guide's going to cover working with Git version control in the context of Positron. Positron is a data science specific IDE that works with both R and Python. And if you're already comfortable working with version control in other contexts, you're going to want to jump ahead to the timecode I have on the screen where I get into the specifics of setting things up in Positron. If you're new to version control though, let's talk a little bit about what it is. Version control offers two main capabilities. The first capability is the ability to track changes to a project over time. And the second capability is to make it easy to collaborate with the contents of that project. To visualize this, I'm going to go to github.com and look at an example project. This is a project called dplyr. It comes from the world of R programming. And on the homepage, we can see all of the contents of this project. So we've got many different files and subdirectories. If we were to dig into the contents and look at any of the individual files, we could see the underlying code for those files. The other thing we can see, if we go back to the homepage for this project, is a commit history. And this really captures the essence of version control. Each of these commits represents a snapshot of changes that was made to this code base at a given point in time. If we click the unique identifier for the commit, we'll see specific details. We see a list of files that were changed, and it highlights the specific lines themselves that were changed. Returning to the top, we can also see who specifically made those changes. Oftentimes on a project, you might have multiple collaborators, and it could be useful to see who's contributing what changes to the underlying code files. There are also safety nets in place so that if you have two collaborators working on the same file, they're not going to overwrite each other's changes. But even if you're working on a project independently without collaborators, having a version control system in place is a really good idea because it's basically a time machine to your code that allows you to look back at how things were done previously. Maybe you took a different direction with a section of code and suddenly things aren't working. If you have version control in place, you could easily revert back to a previous version. Additionally, by having this history of your code changes, it really tells a story about your process, which is going to be useful when it comes to contributing to things like transparency and reproducibility within our work. There's lots more I could say about the benefits of version control, but let's get into it and return back to Positron and start to get things set up so you can see what it's going to look like once version control becomes part of your daily workflow. Step one to using version control in Positron is making sure we have Git installed on our computers. Git is just the particular brand of version control software that we're going to be using. To see if it's installed, down in the lower panel, switch from the console to the terminal, and at the prompt, run the command which git. What you should see is a path to where Git is installed on your computer. If you see something else, like an error message that says command not found, that means Git is not installed or it's not configured properly, and you'll need to get it set up. And I'll include some links on the screen and also in the description on where you can go do that. Assuming Git is installed though, the next step is to do some one-time initial configurations. For this, I'm going to go over to the notes that accompany this video and scroll down to part 2, configure Git. Here we see a series of Git config commands we're going to run. The first is to identify a username that's going to be associated with any of our Git interactions on this computer. So I'm going to copy this command, and in my case, I can run it directly as is in the terminal. In your case, you're going to want to update it with your name. The next config command is to set an email address to be associated with your Git interactions. So again, I will copy and paste this and make sure you update it with your email address. The next command is going to set what our default branch name is going to be. Branching is a feature in Git that allows you to create essentially different versions or forks of your code. That's a little more advanced than we're going to get into in this guide. In this guide, we're going to just be working on what's referred to as a default main branch. And this particular command is just saying that we are going to call that branch main. That is the convention that github.com uses, which is the web service where we're going to be hosting our repositories. So we just want to make sure we're in line with that. Long story short, copy and run this command exactly as written. The next command tells Git how to handle file mode changes. And what we're saying here is that we want Git to not track any permission changes to our files. We only want Git to track the contents of our files. So again, I'm going to copy and run this exactly as written. And then our final config is how Git is going to handle line endings. The command I've included here is the recommended setup for Mac computers. So I'm going to copy and run that. And that's it for our configs and also for interacting with Git from the terminal or from the command line. Moving forward, all of our Git interactions are going to happen via Positron's source control pane. You'll find this from the activity bar on the left. It's the fourth icon down. And then within the initial instructions that they give us, you'll see reference to what's called a repository. A repository is just a special word for a folder of files that is being managed or tracked by Git. Now, there's a few different ways we could create a repository. We could start with a blank folder on our computer and initiate it as a Git repository. Or if we go back to github.com, we can create a repository here and then clone it to our computers. I find this route a little simpler, so let's go down this path. I'm going to click the plus icon and find the option to create a new repository. I'll just call it demo. And then there are various configuration settings you could read through. The ones I want to focus on is adding a README file. I'm going to enable this. A README file is just a plain text file that exists in the root of a project and has general information about that project, such as who authored it, instructions for interacting with that project. It's generally just considered a best practice if you're creating a new project to initialize it with a README file. So we're going to include that. We're also going to have it add a git ignore file. This is a special configuration file that's also going to live in the root of our project that tells Git about certain files or paths we wanted to ignore. Most of the time, all the files in the paths in a project you want Git to be tracking, but there are occasionally some exceptions, like some edge case configuration files or environment-specific files that we don't want Git to track. And when that's the case, we can list them in our git ignore file. To set up our git ignore file from the dropdown, choose the language you're going to be working with. So because we're working in Positron and data science, I'm going to assume you're either working with Python, in which case you would choose Python, or if you're working with R, unfortunately you can't just search for R, you are going to have to scroll down through the list of programming languages and find it. And then once that's set, you can scroll down to the bottom and click Create Repository. This will take you to the homepage for your repository, and you can see it's set us up with two initial files, the git ignore file and that README file. You can also see there's an initial commit history. So the first commit was made on our behalf when we created this repository. If we look at the details of this commit, you can see it's highlighting the two files that were changed, which in this case that just means simply that they were added. Within here, we can see the contents of the git ignore file. So you can see all the recommended files that it suggests you ignore when working on an R-based project. And then for the README file, just put in a heading named after the project itself. These are all files we can edit later, but we want to move on to the next step. Now that we've got this repository created on github.com, we want to connect it to Positron. More specifically, we want to clone a copy of this repository to our computer and then interface with it via Positron. To do that, let's copy the URL for the repository, go back to Positron. Still in the source control pane, we're going to go to clone repository and paste in that URL, and then choose to clone from that URL. Then we need to select a destination for our repository. I'm just going to put it on my computer's desktop. Then we'll prompt it to open the repository. And now you can see we're back in the File Explorer. We've got our demo folder open. There's our git ignore file and our README file that was created for us when we initiated this repository. So in effect, we now have two copies of this project, the one that exists locally on my computer, on my desktop, and then we have the version on GitHub. And what's going to happen is we're going to work on this project in Positron. We're going to evolve the code base. And as we do that, we're going to periodically make commits. So recalling what we saw earlier when we were perusing the commit history for that dplyr project, commits are just like snapshots in time of a code base showing what changed at that time. Let's see some examples of that. So let's start to edit our project. Let's edit the README file. I'm going to add author information. And let's create a new file. Let's imagine we're going to start importing data. So I'll have a file called import.r. I'll just put a comment here with the to-do. And of course, if we were actually working on this code base, we'd probably make more changes than that. But just as an example, let's look at how we would now make a check-in. How would we make that commit to bring the changes that we just made in sync with what is on GitHub? Well, to do this, we're going to again go to the source control pane. Here we can see a list of changes that Git sees within this project. So the first change is for import.r, and this little U here stands for untracked. That basically means this is an untracked file. It's a new file that Git doesn't yet recognize. Because we want to include this as part of our next commit, we're going to click this plus icon and it's going to stage the file. Staging is just a term we use in Git that basically means get this file ready to be part of the next commit. Under changes, it also recognizes the changes to the README file. This time, instead of a U for untracked, we see an M for modified. So that file already exists. It's just detecting a change to the file. And once again, we'll click the plus button to stage those changes. So now we have no more active changes, but we have two stage changes that we can create a commit for. To do that, we're going to start by creating a commit message, which is just like a brief summary of what changes we're making as part of this commit. So in this case, I'll say added initial import script, added author info to README. After that, I'll press the commit button, and then finally, I'll sync these changes to GitHub. This is just telling me it's going to pull and push commits to and from our main origin on GitHub. I'm going to say OK and don't show again. We don't need to see this message every time. And because this is the first time I'm interfacing with GitHub from Positron, I am going to have to authenticate. So I'm going to say allow when it prompts me to sign in with GitHub. This will give me a code, and to finish authenticating, I will click the button to copy and continue to GitHub. I'll continue with the device activation, paste in the code it gave me, click continue again. Then we're going to authorize the application, which it says Visual Studio Code instead of Positron, just because Visual Studio Code is the underlying engine, so to speak, of Positron. So at this step, it's okay to go ahead and authorize. And we should be all set there. So if we go back to Positron, you can see our sync is going to complete. There is a message on the bottom right asking if we'd like Positron to periodically run git fetch. And a git fetch is basically just checking in with our remote repository on GitHub and seeing if there's any new information or changes that we want to be aware of here locally. And it's a good idea to periodically run this. So I am going to say yes. And you'll notice now under the source control pane, it's not seeing any active changes because we've already committed everything. Everything should be in sync. And just as evidence of that, let's go back to GitHub, back to our repository. I'm going to refresh it. And I'm just going to make sure that those changes that I just made are reflected here. So here's our new import.r file. So you can see the contents of that. If we look at the contents of the README file, which right now it's rendering as markdown, but if we look at the code, we can see the line that I added there. And if we go back to the repository homepage, we now have a commit history that's starting to evolve. So there was our initial commit that was made by GitHub on our behalf, and then this is the commit that we just made from Positron. Just to make sure we're clear on that process I showed, let's just go through it one more time. So going back to our files, we're going to continue to evolve this project in a hypothetical example. Let's imagine we had some CSV data we wanted to import. So I'm going to create a new subfolder for this. I'll call it data. And then within here, we'll create a new CSV file. I'll call it demo.csv. We'll open this as a plain text file. And I think if I go back to the notes that accompany this video, I have some example CSV we can work with. Yeah, so this is under part 3, Git workflow. I'm just going to copy that in. And then let's go to our import and we'll actually import that. So we'll say students read.csv data demo.csv, and we can go ahead and run it. You can see that loaded our students object with our data inside of it. And I'll save those changes. And then once again, going back to the source control pane, you can see it recognizes those changes. With import, again, we have an M for modified. If we click on this file, we can see what was actually modified. So in this case, we added 2 lines that's indicated in green. If we had deleted existing lines, that would be indicated in red. If we wanted to revert the changes to this file, you can click this little back arrow to discard those changes, which is a handy little feature. Let's say you had worked on some code, wasn't going in the direction you wanted, you could quickly revert it to what it was at the previous commit. But this looks good, so I'm going to stage those changes. Same thing for our demo.csv. We're going to stage those changes. And before I make my commit, I just want to make one more additional change. So I'll just go back to the README file, make an edit to this file, save those changes. Give it a moment to recognize that the file has changed. Or if you hover over this top part next to changes, there's always this refresh button if it's not picking up on changes. But the reason I wanted to make that change was just to show that when you go to do a commit, you don't necessarily have to include all of your files in that particular commit. There might be files that you're not ready to commit yet, and you could just leave them under active changes. And let's go ahead and wrap up this commit. So we'll say added example data and did import. Click commit. And this time you'll notice it didn't immediately change to a sync button because we still have those pending changes. So to get this synced up with GitHub, I'm going to click the 3 little dots and I'm going to choose to push. And then once again, we'll just go back to GitHub and make sure that our changes are reflected there. So I'll update my commit page. You can see that 3rd commit was added. And then if we go back to our files, we can see things like the addition of our example data file. And with that, that's the basic process of getting a Git workflow set up in Positron. To wrap things up, I want to go back to the notes that accompany this video, and there's a section called When to Commit. Here, I provide some guidelines on when it's appropriate to make a commit to your code base. It's not something that anytime you make a change, you're going to go through that whole process of making a commit. It's really just when you come to good checkpoints. So for example, when you're wrapping up a session, you've just made some progress, you want to save your work, go ahead and make a commit. Another place I like to make commits is if I've been working on something a little tricky and it finally works, I like to make a commit then, just so I have that as a save point in my work, so that as I continue to write code, if I mess things up but I want to be able to revert back to it, I can always look back at that check-in point. Similarly, for if you're about to do something experimental in your code, you're not sure if it's going to work, create a save point that you could go back to. And then finally, if you're collaborating with anybody else before you were to share your work, you'd want to make sure everything is up to date on GitHub. Sometimes I'll have students email me questions about their code and they say something's not working, and I will look at their repository on GitHub and it'll be completely different than what they're seeing in their local copy on Positron. And obviously that's not helpful for helping them out. So always remember, if you want others to be looking at your code, it's got to be up to date. And then finally, I always say this to students: if in doubt, commit early and often. It doesn't cost anything to commit, and the more records you have over time of your changes, the better you'll be, especially if you ever need to revert back to something.